You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Most options trading platforms are commission-free, and there are some that don't charge per-contract fees. Public.com goes a step further. When you trade options on Public, there are no commissions, no per-contract fees, and you get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. That means it costs less than $0 per transaction. In other words, instead of paying to place options trades, you literally earn money, and that money can add up fast. If you trade 1,000 option contracts on Public, you'll earn up to $180 in rebates. 10,000 contracts? Up to almost $1,200. It's pretty obvious why NerdWallet recently gave options trading on Public 5 out of 5 stars. Because Public really stands out for the cost of its options trades. Their words, not ours. If you want to start paying less than $0 to trade options, check out Public.com and get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. Paid for by Public Investing. Options not suitable for all investors and carry significant risk. Full disclosures in podcast description. U.S. members only. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. Time to kick off another glorious, maybe head-scratching, certainly was at the end of Friday, trading week out there. Listen, are you ready? Are you raring to go? Well, we are here on the Option Block, your bi-weekly options extravaganza, also our kickoff show for our broadcast week. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the THE, optionsinsider.com, as well as from the rest of the network upon which all of you folks are having a good time these days. A lot of stuff from OIC hitting the network live. It already up on the pro side already, so you already got access to it. More to come on the pro side. It will then continue to trickle out onto the network. If you want to get it early, you want to get pro Q&As, you want to get options oddities at the end of the week, you want to, well, it's too late to win the May crate. That'll be going out later this week, but you want to get your name in the hat for the June Pro Trading Crate. Only one place to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. But it's our kickoff show, listeners. I am joined this week by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as looks like by a double dose of the Rock Lobster and the meatball. We'll see. We'll see who survives to make it through, because it is time to kick off our broadcast week in high style. It is time for our 80s trivia section, a special one, a fun one this week. Here we go. All right, a little bit different music this week than our usual Jeopardy. If that noise didn't alert you, we're talking about something different this weekend. A lot of people this weekend were excited to watch Godzilla -1. Ooh, that music's That's loud music. There we go. Godzilla -1 came out on Netflix, which is where most people watch things. I ended up watching it last year in theaters back in December because I was hearing this crazy talk about could a Godzilla film be the best picture of the year? And it's a pretty damn awesome movie, spoiler alert, out there. So I went and saw it. I was excited to see it again this weekend with the rest of the family. Got me thinking, it might be time for a good 80s themed trivia about the one, the only Godzilla. So strap in, Uncle Mike, and the rockingest of lobsters out there. Because the 80s were a weird time for Godzilla movies. He actually was on hiatus for most of it. He didn't come back until the 80s kicked off. I won't say which year, because that's part of our trivia question today. But the first movie that Godzilla kind of returning to form, actually kind of a bit of a remake of his original film from the 50s, was also titled a year from the 80s. It was Godzilla and This Year from the 80s. So go ahead, have at it. The floor is yours. No one buzzing in. Wow, okay. There we go. Mr. Uncle Mike, there you go. You're learning how this game works, Mr. Uncle Mike. If you don't know, just say a year. Godzilla, what year, sir?
I'm going to go with 1989, because I seem to remember like the Yo quiero Taco Bell having to do something with it.
1989. Good guess, but no. Mr. Rock Lobster, your odds have just improved, sir. Guess a year. Godzilla, what year?
I want to say 1984.
Ooh, so close. Godzilla 1985 was the big return to form for the big lizard, Gojira, coming back as a bad guy, kind of like he is in Godzilla -1, where he knocks Tokyo back into the Stone Age after all the horrors that happened in World War II. Again, awesome movie. Go check it out if you have. When I went and saw it in theaters back in December, I remember turning around. There was not a dry eye in the house. People were, I was like, when people are bawling their eyes out at a Godzilla movie, this thing might have some legs out there. So it's definitely impressive. Tell you what, we'll go for a bonus round because I'm having fun here. Godzilla 1985. This will be for a full point too, whoever can get it. So it's a quality bonus round. The original Godzilla film featured a very famous American actor. The most famous, I'll give you a hint, most famous for his TV work out there. They cut him into the Japanese movie because they didn't think Americans would want to watch an all-Japanese film with Japanese cast they didn't know back in the 50s. That same character returned for play the same character. He reprised his role in Godzilla 1985. What famous Hollywood actor am I talking about? Just name a Hollywood actor if you can.
I'll buzz.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Who you got?
Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges. Okay, not a bad guess. He did what's that show? Sequest or something? Or Sea Hunt?
Yes.
So he was the TV guy. I'll give you that. A good guess, but no, Mr. Uncle Mike, the field is open. Guess a well-known Hollywood actor, mostly from TV, who was big in the 50s and also still alive in the 80s.
Desi Arnaz.
Ooh, another good one. Both good guesses. No, Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr played Mr. Perry Mason himself. He played the original TV reporter. If you go watch the original 50s Godzilla, it's pretty obvious that they filmed this other movie and then they cut scenes in of Raymond Burr on a different stage completely. Just looking at the monster and saying, "Oh, the monster's destroying Tokyo." Yeah, it's pretty funny. But he apparently reprised his role. And I remember watching this movie back in the 80s, but I don't recall it, obviously. I'm going to have to go check it out again if it's a remake of the original, which is a surprisingly good film. Kind of holds up surprisingly well as a horror film in this day and age. Listeners, have you seen Godzilla -1? Do you have any Godzilla memories, perhaps from the 80s? Hit us up, let us know as we keep on rolling into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
Our chat's popping off. They saw the movie, including the Queen and others. They saw Godzilla -1 out there this weekend. Yeah, a good one, a fun one. Even if you're not into Godzilla, it's kind of almost the counterpoint and the other side of everyone loved Oppenheimer. It's the other side of Oppenheimer. They were talking about developing the bomb. This is what happens after you unleash the bomb. Kind of crazy stuff out there. As we keep on rolling, is it a crazy day in the markets? Well, we had a crazy end to Friday, of course. It was actually going on during oddities. The Rock Lobster and I were talking, and we were trying to talk unusual activity. And we're like, what the hell is going on with this market? S&P rallying somewhere around 70 handles right into the close. Just crazy. And then today, it seems like we're having kind of the polar opposite. We started off looking kind of firm. S&P above 5,300. NASDAQ was feeling its oats up to around 16,900. And it seemed like we were kind of carrying on that, whatever that tailwind that caught the market at the end of Friday. And then now the worm has turned again to the dark. So it's kind of like the mirror image of what we had going on Friday, where now we start off high and now we're going lower. S&P off 0.8% right now, off 42 handles. So again, moving 70 handles in the other direction. It rallies 70 handles. It's almost like back to where it was before the rally on Friday, which is also just weird. Again, we moved 70 handles the end of the day on Friday, and now we're pretty much down almost 70 handles from where we were earlier this morning. We got to 52.99. We're at 52.35 right now, so almost 70 handles back. Just crazy. Dow off 1.1%, and the NASDAQ off about 0.5%. Let's go check out our old friend, small caps as well. Small caps taking the bit in their teeth to the dark side, off 1.25%. All this a long way around to saying our friend VIX getting the weekend back and maybe going to get some more if this keeps up about 0.2 point right now, about 13.95, just a tick below the 14 handle. VVIX at an 81, up about a point as well. Mr. Meatball, I guess those, or Rocklock, I should say, I guess those VIX puts we were chasing on Friday where we turned the market, I guess we don't have to chase those anymore. Oh, interesting stuff. Let's go around the horn. First, let's start. There were no winners, so I'll just pick. Let's go out to Uncle Mike. Why not? Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if you have any enduring memories of the giant lizard that is Godzilla. And then B, walk us through what you were thinking during that crazy rally at the end of the day on Friday. And then C, what's catching your eye on an equally weird sell-off today?
Well, the only memories I have of Godzilla, I seem to have a memory, I think Taco Bell sponsored it. And like that was back in the Yo Quiero Taco Bell days with the Chihuahua.
You're all over Taco Bell and Godzilla. You love it.
That's what I remember back then. But I think the reason I guessed 89 is because I think in hindsight, I was probably in high school at the time when I saw that. So I think it was more in the 90s when that Godzilla came out. So yeah, this one, I am humbled today. I had nothing to offer for the 80s trivia. So proving once again, it is totally fair and unbiased, and there is no need to cheat for Andrew.
It can't all be Patriots and professional wrestling, as much as you would like it to be.
Nonetheless. But yeah, looking at today, the first thing that sticks out to me is that some things are up, some things are down, but we got NVIDIA up 3% on the day. So the market still likes NVIDIA, up $33 on the day. It was actually up a little bit higher earlier, but it's still holding strong. There are stocks out there that are higher. We have Meta, the stock formerly known as Facebook, is up over 1% on the day. Merck is definitely not acting like a jerk. That's up 1.8% on the day. We have a little bit of a rally in bonds right now. So we are getting some buyers there. So it's not like this is just red straight across everything by any means. There are some names out there that are doing some stuff. Now, to the positive side. Now, in terms of the overall sectors, it is pretty much red with the exception of the healthcare sectors. Just looking at all the XLs, healthcare is the only one that I'm showing that's positive on the day. So there's stuff that's up and there's stuff that's down, but as of right now, there is more stuff that's down. Some of the names that I'm seeing that are down on the day a little bit more to greater levels. Waste management down 4.5%. I mean, talk about a garbage stock. Couldn't resist that one.
How long have you been sitting on that one? My goodness.
I literally just saw it today and I was thinking that would be good for the show.
I have to save that one for the show. I have to save that gem for the listeners.
I saw that one today and I'm thinking, oh, this is a good one to put in there. So we are getting that. And then we have some other ones that are down on the day that we have in our portfolio that we're watching, as well as some are up. Taiwan Semiconductor is up over 1% on the day. Apple's up 0.5% on the day. Maybe it's making a run at 200. You never know. JP Morgan is back below the 200 mark. So yes, the market is down right now, and that the S&P is down 0.7% roughly on the day. But there are some names out there that are still up. It's not just a total bloodbath everywhere. In terms of what happened on Friday going into the close, a lot of times the reason to be concerned is when you get a giant sell-off going into the close on Friday. But it's not often that you get a big rally going into the close on Friday when most of the option traders are over at Series or Siri or whatever it is, that bar in the CBOE across the street from CBOE, and all the New York traders or wherever it is they go in Manhattan to go have a beer afterwards. But it was very odd, I felt, to see a rally of that magnitude at that time of the day. So for right now, S&P is down it's down 33 on the day. And so we'll see where it goes. But the one thing that I think it's very important that we keep in mind throughout all this is the fact that 53.41 is the all-time high in the SPX, and we are 100 points below that. And we are just a little bit over a week away from when that happened. So markets are holding the new high levels. It looks like we stopped at 5,200 as a level of support on Friday. And that's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
Our chat's looking at silver, Uncle Mike. They want to know if you're excited about silver. They're saying, wow. So any thoughts on what's going on in silver today, sir?
Not today, because it's not quite as exciting, but I was getting very excited on Friday when we got to the highs again. I thought we were going to crack the 29 mark again, but then it crapped out, and then we're getting a little bit of a run out on it today. What I am excited about with silver is that we have been able to hold around this 28 level now for over 2 weeks. And when it goes up that quickly and it can hold this, it makes me think we might be building a little bit more of a base. So the thief in the night, he is welcome to come break in the house anytime. Maybe he's still getting all of his stuff together before he breaks into the house. But I don't know. We'll see. But I could definitely see more upside in silver.
Bunch of silver junkies in our live chat, Uncle Mike. Who knew? I guess you've converted them all to the dark side of silver with your thief in the night talk, sir. How dare you?
There we go.
All right, let's keep rolling. Let's go out to the land of the rock lobster. I'm guessing you don't have much to offer on the Godzilla front. If you do, have at it. B, I know I was talking to you during that crazy up move in the markets. We were both trying to make sense of it as we were trying to make sense of unusual activity, which is already challenging in and of itself. Then you add on a 70 handle roaring upside in the S to gum up the work. So now that you've had some time to think about it, any thoughts on what we saw going on Friday in the afternoon? And then C, we're kind of seeing the other side of that now. What's lighting up your tape today, sir? A 3-parter for you.
Oh my gosh, Benny. So I on Friday I just got a lot of fills at the end of the day. I had some I had some VIX puts offers out for some open positions. I put some offers out for some SPY calls that just got scooped like crazy. So I don't know what caused the big turnaround per se. No idea really. The odd part was just the fact that we kind of sold off and things look ugly and then it stopped. We started the day up Friday. Remember we had we're up 1 or 2 points SPY, and then it spent the whole day kind of selling off. So there was definitely some odd action. I feel like the end of the day thing was sort of like the zero DTE phenomenon, where the open interest on the May 31 cycle was relatively light. On the upside going into Friday, relative amount of contracts, it was very light open interest. And the volume on the strikes by the end of the day were some were like 10x the open interest. So that just means there was a lot more opening paper that day. Some options I saw, there were several. I did not trade these, but I do like looking at ranges after the day. There's a lot of options that were a nickel that went to $30. So I think there might have been a little squeeze action, and it happened very, very fast. So I would assume that some folks got excited, started buying some calls, and things squeezed higher just because there was so much call volume. I think that just engendered a lot of future volume, and there wasn't a lot of open interest. And without a lot of open interest, basically dealers weren't just closing their inventory, right? Because you close your inventory, who cares? You have this huge amount of gamma and decay, and all of a sudden it's gone. So closing something is different than opening more short contracts. So that's to me what the paper looked like on Friday, which is, it's not a bad thing, but when you're trading, you can see how easy, and we've talked about this, like the potential for the gamma bomb kind of stuff and all that. And yeah, so here, just to give you an example, this is kind of how things work, right? So the May 31 contract, the 5205 open interest going into the day was 332 contracts, 19,000 traded. The 210s, 415 open interest, 33,000 traded. The 215s, 456 open, 37,000 traded. The 5225s, and these ended up $25 in the money. Open interest 4,000, volume 61,000 contracts, 72,000 on the 5230s, 65, like crazy crazy volume. The 5250s open contracts 8,000, 83,000 contracts. So if one had a calculator, and there was volume all the way to the 5290s. There was 18,000 on the 5290s, 22,000 on the 5285s. So my point of all this is, when there's light open interest, and all of a sudden folks get a little, like they got a bug for the 5200s, 52 whatevers, and then boom, 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 things start to snowball upward, because if traders are selling these calls on a high gamma, they're going to buy some futures to hedge, and then, and then all of a sudden things start moving. So I found that to be, I think this was one of the first, I don't know if it's the first, okay, so I should be careful how I say this, but this was one of the times where, at least I clearly believe, without being in the pit, without trading it, just seeing the volume, that the effect on the 0 DTE was very heavy. That it actually, I think, kind of moved the tail wag the dog to some degree in the future. But I would need some confirmation on that. But just the volume was pretty enormous. You're talking probably 1 million contracts SPX. So how many future contracts is that? That's a lot of futures. And it's a lot of futures in the last 2 hours of the day. So anyway, for anybody that's listening, or maybe Dr. Vix or somebody, that would be an interesting stat to see what the ratio of how many options relative to the futures trade at the end of the day. So I thought that was large. And kind of, nobody complains when the market melts up, because I'm not a market maker anymore, so I'm not selling those calls anymore. So it did not affect me adversely, but that kind of volatility is like very instant and sharp. And I think that's another reason why I think from my point of view, the short-term vol indicator I look at the most is the 9-day VIX. Right now it's trading 15. Okay. Now we're down 0.5% today. We started the day up, 0.5%. So we've had a 1% range. So 9-day volatility, I think, is still, we have, and it's a bit up from the weekend, but there's a little bit of shell shock in it to as well. So, all is not like settle low vol land. Again, realized vols are still relatively low. But I think we got a little bit of a shock going on from that Friday activity. And as bullish and positive as it was, I think the market quickly gave back, I mean, almost all of it, if I'm not mistaken, really, that last half hour of the day. Let's see here. Anyway, I was curious. I don't know if Tosaw was watching that. Yeah, I mean, we've given back pretty much that entire magic melt up. We hit that right where it started, and we bounced off that number. So, okay, we'll probably go a little higher today, maybe. But from a vol perspective, 9-day vol, even you sort of weekend adjusted, feels a little higher than normal with where we were. And VIX opened only to this morning, like just a hair above 13. I mean, the markup for the weekend was only 20 cents this morning. So it was kind of benign, and then everything sort of changed tune. So we have a jobs number at the end of the week. The Fed is going to opine on the 12th. So again, we got interesting stuff going on for sure.
Yeah, you're right. We pretty much, like I was saying at the top of the show, we pretty much just gave it all back. Everything we got in that crazy rally in the last hour, it's just all coming off the top today. That's pretty much the move we got in the other direction. So equally weird in the other direction out there right now. Speaking of directions, let's see what direction the volume is moving today. If you guessed up, you've been paying attention. These kind of weird whipsaw-y days tend to drive some paper, and that is indeed the case. Let's start in VIX land and see what's popping off out there. And the answer is heck of a lot. 589,000 contracts on the tape right now. That's a fair amount north. That's at least 300,000 above, if not more, what we would typically expect. Maybe a regular start to the week, you might expect 220, maybe 250 if it was a pretty banger start to the week. 589 closing on 600K. That's a pretty active day. Maybe we'll hit 1 million out there today. The ADV, 834. So the ADV moving back to firmer territory, back north of 800K. SPY also lighting it up out there to the tune of 5.6 million contracts. That's about 1.3 million or so above what we would expect this time of day. The ADV nearly 7 million, 6.95 out there. The S, 1.75 million. So the S exactly where we expect it to be right now, which is again kind of interesting. The ADV 2.8 million out there. Small caps on fire as well, 700,000. So they certainly seem like they're going to hit their ADV of 1.06 million today. And the Qs, 2.66 million. So, the last few sessions we've been talking about weirdly sleepy paper for the Qs, barely making it to 2 million. 2.66 right now. That's pretty darn close to their 3.1 million ADV. So I got a feeling they're going to hit it out there. Let's get out to single names because that's certainly where some action is out there today. Cost you 200,000 contracts exactly to break into the top 10 today, listeners. Interestingly enough, if we dial it back to 12, that cost you 188,000. We're doing that because number 12 is one half of our question of the week out there, which is Robinhood, ticker symbol Hood, of course, 188,000 contracts. Down right now. Was popping earlier this morning. There were some rumors all the meme stocks were popping again today off of Mr. Kitty making another cryptic tweet apparently out there. If they could just tweet and move these stocks like this, is he not pump and dumping these? I don't know. That's a lot of restraint on his part if he's not. I've seen better characters do a lot worse out there in the market over the years. 21 even right now. Let's see, pretty actually just ticking again. It's up about a dime. Good for 188,000. And the number 12 spot, number 11 coming in relevant to what we'll be talking about in a little bit on the crypto rundown. I'll be joined by our buddy, Mr. Greg Magadini, who loves to dive deep into the vol and the skew on the crypto front. So stay tuned for that. Should be fun. Number 11, Mara. That's off about a dime, 1942. So it's kind of midway on its march up to 30 or back down to 15. Where's it going to go, listeners? Right now hanging out in the 19 handle range. Then to our actual top 10. Number 10, the other half of our question of the week right now. It's Palantir, 2110, off about half a buck. Both, you'll notice, Hood and Palantir trading right around 21 bucks, which makes them our question of the week this week. Having a little fun one. Let's just pick some stocks this week. Why not? Last week was a holiday week. Let's just pick some stocks. Quite simply, gun to your head. Both Palantir and Robinhood trading right around 21 bucks right now. Which one would you rather buy? Are you all in on Palantir? You're all in on Robinhood? Are you out on both? Or are you maybe you prefer a little vol trading instead? Get over there at make your voice heard. I'll reveal those results a little bit later in the show. But number 10, Palantir, 200,000 contracts on the tape today. Number 9, a name we don't see too often unless it's earnings season or they make some kind of crazy announcement, both of which happened recently for this name. This is Dell, 132.40, off about $7.20, a little over 5%. Good for 206,000 contracts. And the number 9 spot, number 8, the artist formerly known as Facebook, 214,000 contracts, 473 even, up about 617 on the day, or about 1.3%. So a nice day for them. They're managing to stay green on this mostly blood red day out there. Number 7, the Amazonians, one of the few names in the Dow that's looking good today, 176. Actually, just ticked 177 even now, up about 58 cents or about a third of a percent. Good for number 7, 291,000 contracts. Hope you like A names, listeners, because we got some for you. Number 6, AMC. Witness the aforementioned meme tweets. AMC, number 6, 522,000 contracts. I'm sure the brokers are out there saying, can this guy tweet every day? Because he's putting up some numbers when he tweets. 512 is where it's trading right now, up about 80 cents or 18.5%. Man, 522,000 contracts and the number 6 spot out there. Number 5, AMD, 162.20, off about 4 3/4 or almost 3%. So AMD moving in the other direction. They had their conference announcement, call it what you will, out there recently. Apparently the market doing a little buy the rumor, sell the fact out there. Number 5, 554,000. We're talking memes, so you know this one has to be in there. Number 4, it's GameStop, 655 on the tape today, $30.19, up $7 or a whopping 30.5%. My goodness, was trading $22.91 on the close on Friday. Just, again, off to the races, all off of tweets. Apparently, this guy revealed he has a $116 million stake in GameStop, which I guess if you can pump and dump a stock like this, I probably would own a bunch of it as well, and then let some go, and then buy it back again after I pump it. I'm just kidding, but still, these kind of things always make me a little bit skeptical, listeners. Number 4, 655. Number 3, another A-related tech name. It's Apple, 193.61, 807,000 contracts, up $1.30 or about 3/4% today. Closing in on a 52-week high. A nice run after they bought $100 billion of it back, whatever it was out there. A ridiculous amount, 807,000 contracts, and the number 3 spot. Number 2, it's NVIDIA, 918, up $36, trading $11.30. Actually just ticked $11.37 now and a half, up $41. Good for 918,000 contracts. And the number 1, the big dog, it's still Tesla. Nothing can dethrone it. 175.5, off 260 or about 1.5%. Good for 1.14 million contracts out there. And the number 1 spot, yet again, listeners out there. Just impressive how it can keep rolling along. Earnings season is rolling along right now, listeners. We still have some names popping off this week, including if you're excited about Dollar Tree or perhaps Ollie's Bargain Outlet, then you'll be excited by Wednesday. Lululemon as well, Victoria's Secret, Five Below, and Land's End on Wednesday. Bath & Body Works tomorrow. Neo getting some more Chinese electric car news on Thursday, as well as Big Lots and the Rock Lobster's favorite, Rent the Runway, also on Thursday. They've been in our odd paper in the past once or twice. Looking at the season right now, listeners, how are we hanging out? Let's see, we got any... Let's look at Ollie's really quickly. The 5th before the bell, 82.43 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $5.85. In the past, they moved $5.44, so about 40 cents worth of extra juice. Interesting. It's a decent little premium for Ollie's. We've seen some action in the dollar store and kind of bargain store sector of late, so perhaps that's to account for that. If you want some juice, though, Five Below, 138.13 is where they're trading right now. They're pricing in $11.80. In the past, they moved $9.97. My goodness, $1.83 worth of extra juice. Is that warranted? That's a lot. My goodness. And then Lululemon, sheer yoga pants. Is there some juice out there? They're trading $3.12 when we ran this report. They're pricing in $28.63. In the past, they moved $25.21. So about $3.40 worth of extra juice out there. Wow. A lot of extra juice across the board. I guess the more the merrier this cycle, because we're hanging out at 118% right now for the season. My goodness, that's a lot of juice. That's far north of our 109% long-term average right now. So I guess you can't argue with the folks who are buying the juice. Is that also the case in the odd block? I guess let's find out, listeners.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's go back to the land of biotechs. We talked about his name a few times. I think the Flowmaster has talked about it recently as well. We talked about it on Options Oddities. We're going back to it again, listeners. It's Avantor Inc., ticker symbol AVTR, trading $24.20, up about 11 cents or about 0.5% today. This one's it's a biotech, so you expect it to have some topsiness and some turviness. This one's up about $4 or 19.5% on the year. It was kind of drifting along, 20.25 on June of last year. In October of last year, 21.5 bucks. It was up about $1.25. Nothing crazy, but nothing terrible. Then they crushed it right around Halloween down to 16.63. That was the low for the year. And then since then, it's been on a rocket ship back north. By December, it was back up to 23 bucks actually. And by March, it hit its high for the year of 26.16. It's a little bit below that now, obviously, at $24.20. And Mr. Rock Lobster, it seems like somebody coming in today and deciding to put their money where their mouth is, thinking, there's not a lot of downside to come here in this name. And if it does come, they're willing to pick some up because they wrote a pretty sizable line in the sand on the 23 strike, selling 20,831 of the 23 puts expiring at the end of the month on the 28th. So these are in the weeklies, listeners. They got 21 cents for these bad boys, so pretty much right on the bid. It's a 28.5 vol. Worth noting the stock was pretty much exactly here, so the stock hasn't budged. And there's no earnings, nothing along that lines that would make you have some insight into why they picked that date, because the next announcement is on July 26th, listeners. So it seems like what it appears to be on the surface. Someone looking to harvest a little bit of the old risk premium, this time to the tune of 21 cents, about 21,000 times. Mr. Rock Lobster, what are your thoughts on more paper here in Avantor?
Don't you see something is, let's just say, that's a bold put sale. It is $1 out of the money with a month to go, and they sold them for 21 cents. All you want? Do you find that, I don't know, that is bold. You know, and it doesn't mean like stock can't go up or whatever, but I find that a very, normally the line in the sand put, they sell out of the money, something kind of substantially out of the money. And let's see, what recent low is around 23 bucks. So I guess they're trying to tag the recent low, but man, that's a bold sale. Like your chances of getting put on those, I think, are pretty good. Another thing that's amazing is this must be a buyout or something, because the vol in this, it's for a medical device company or whatever, or something to dealing with biotech. Vol's only 26%. So something's got to be up with this one. This is a one to watch for next week, I have to say.
Yeah, the Flowmaster was talking about him on the show last Thursday as well. You may recall, listeners. He profiled someone selling the regular June 21.5 puts for 12 cents, so farther out of the money and less juice, and also buying the 24 and 25 calls in July for 80 cents and 41 cents respectively. So he profiled some bullish paper just last Thursday. And now on the heels of that, we got some size puts. So it seems like some folks are putting their money where their mouth is, listeners, that we got some near-term upside to come in Avantor. Are you down with that, listeners? Are you buying what they're selling? Are you intrigued? Hit us up. Let us know. Maybe folks in the chat, you love your silver. You like yourselves a little bit of Avantor as well. As we keep on rolling out to our next name. This sounds vaguely familiar. I think we talked about it before, but it's probably been a while. This is INTT Corp, ticker symbol INTT. They have subsidiaries including Temptronic and others, trading $9.58, off 38 cents or about 4% today. So a rough day for them on the year. Let's see what kind of year they're having. Oh, pretty rough year as well. Off $14.20 or about 60%. They topped out at $27.17 almost exactly a year ago in early June, and they really have not looked back since. It's been just pretty much, well, straight down, I would say, until November of last year. And then they got to about $12, and ever since then, it's been a slower sell-off, but still a mostly sell-off down to where we are right now, $9.50. So apparently no folks are testing over there at INTT because this stock looking no bueno. But you know what, Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody's looking for a little bit of the old near-term turnaround. They're saying, this sell-off's for the birds. This is overdone. I want to buy 1,099 of the June 10s. Lifting the offer, paying a quarter for these bad boys. The stock was higher, so that is not working in their favor. The stock was $9.74 when they bought these. The stock is $9.58 right now, so spoiler alert, they're wearing it on these a little bit because these are June. They don't have that long to go on these. Lifting the offer on these. No earnings. The earnings are on August 2nd, so nothing else driving this paper outside of, looks like a little bit of near-term bullish paper that at least in the opening salvo, Mr. Rock Lobster, not looking that great. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like a small cap company, mid cap company in test. I mean, I don't think the options themselves are that bad. It's kind of a low volatility name. However, small cap stock, things can happen. They're right now they're 25.85. So I have to say, if they bought them, looks like they bought the offer. I don't know. Not, I guess from a price point of view, not a terrible purchase. I have to say. I mean, the liquidity provider is 25.80 going out. So they're basically saying no more calls for you.
I know. Wow. The stock's down and they bid them in their face.
Yeah. So there's no more calls for you, apparently.
Yeah. 25 cents. Now they're with 25-cent bid with. Wow. They did not like selling those.
Yes, there's the ultimate when a broker came into the crowd, the last thing you wanted to hear was the whole crowd said, yeah, bid with.
Wow. Yeah, you don't see that too often. Stock falls after they sell these calls and they're bid out with for the customer for these calls.
Nobody wants to sell these things.
Yeah, apparently not.
Again.
Crazy stuff. Listen, let's keep rolling out here. Let's pay off one trade we've been talking about recently. Then we'll get on to the Uncle Mike business of the day. Let's go out to Warner Brothers Discovery, ticker symbol WB. This is the name we've been talking about on and off over the last year and change, ever since their deal went through. We've talked about a lot of size collars out there, and that is the case again out there in Warner Bros. Warner Bros., of course, ticker symbol WBD, had a troubling year, off about 28% or 330 on the year. They're hanging out. They're exactly a buck off their low for the year right now. Their low for the year is 734. Looks like they set that back in April, and now they're 834. So a little bit of recovery out there, but still rough sledding out there for WBD. And what did we talk about back on the April 19th show? Another pretty tight size, huge size collar going up out there. It was expiring. Actually, I have to revise this because they priced it up for May expiration, but this actually was on May 31st. They threw him a little bit of a curveball out here. But this was the expiring, like I said, on the May 31st, 8.5/8 collar. They sold 120,000 of the 8.5 calls and then bought 120, actually a little more, 125,000. So they did a little more than 120. Well, let's price it up as 120. 120,000 of the 8 puts for splits, 55 and 56 cents, or right around 55.5 cents. So figure the collar for close to 11 cents out there, listeners. They ended up net paying a debit for this. The stock went out on regular May expiration at 8:05, but this was a May 31st expiration. The stock went out then at 8:24. Either way, it doesn't help them, because they bought the put and sold the call. Again, very tight. So what you end up having is, pretty much gave up that 11 cents. Either way, either expiration, you're out that 11 cents, which doesn't sound like a lot. But you do anything 120,000 times, listeners, that adds up $1.32 million they dropped. Now, obviously, this is done against a boatload of stock that they have, and they don't really plan on the stock moving anytime soon. But they were worried, I guess, against some massive apocalyptic drop. So they didn't get that, and they didn't pay a ton for it, but they did drop $1.32 million. So it's not the kind of thing you could keep doing over and over again. It will add up. But Mr. Rock Lobster, another size collar going out worthless in WBD, sir. What say you?
We're almost going to put this on the list like charge point. Remember when they were trading all that charge point?
Yeah.
Like calls, puts, calendars. Like somebody grabbed the Natenberg book and just started slinging like 50 to 100,000 contracts at a pop. And they put this collar on. The only thing I can assume is like it's somehow a no-cost collar or low-cost collar. They've got to be on long stock. And I think they just keep putting this collar on to maybe try to catch a down move on it. My assumption is they're just trying to spend a tiny amount of money to kind of give themselves maximum stock protection. Maybe they get a little lift if the stock goes to 8.5. Kind of hard to I just unless you're playing for some kind of a roll down to the downside, I don't see what the use of it is,
Yeah, it's so tight. You're limiting yourself, Obviously they can't get rid of their stock, so they're, legally obligated to hold on to it probably. So they have to do this kind of thing. But still, yeah, you're right. These kind of tight collars, it's kind of hard to see the huge payoff on these bad boys. But intriguing stuff out there. Speaking of payoff, our chat not liking, or I guess kind of mixed on the Avantor stuff. Nickel says he doesn't mind selling the puts, but wouldn't buy the calls. Doesn't like buying the calls that the Flowmaster was talking about last week. Frank says he doesn't like it either, and neither does Option God. So nobody wants to buy the calls. A little bit of interest in selling the puts. You guys like playing close to the fire. I get it. As it's time for Uncle Mike to dive into said fire, it is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, everybody, let's get to it. Uncle Mike, you've got about 8 minutes on the show left, so you can hold the whole time holding court on Godzilla if you like. Have at it. Are you pulling a rock, Lobster? Did you mute yourself as well? What's going on with you two today? Taking your silly pills.
I mean, he rarely does that.
I see he's having some issues. Oh no. There he is. He's biding his moment. He's waiting ever so patiently for his moment where he too can regale us all. Let's see. Let's see if we can get the uncleist of Mike's back. You know what, listeners? He got so excited. He got so excited he knocked himself offline, I think. All right, we'll see. We shall see if we can get the uncleist of Mike's back. Meanwhile, I guess we'll keep on going into a little bit of the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, listeners, let's get out to the mail block while we can see if we could regain the services of one Uncle Mike Tosaw. Let's go out to our poll question. I mentioned our question of the week right now, listeners. Let's pay it off right now. Like, before I pay it off, let's get the Rock Lobster's thoughts. We said, hey, let's pick some stocks. Let's have a little bit of fun. Palantir and Robinhood, both trading around $21. Which would you rather buy? Mr. Rock Lobster, what are your thoughts? Your choices are Robinhood all day, Palantir for the win, I'm out on both, or I'd rather trade vol. I think I know which way you're leaning. And then B, more importantly, which way do you think our audience is leaning?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there he is.
He's back, but I'm going to sneak in real fast. I would rather buy Hood right now, and I think the audience is going Hood.
Oh, audience is going Hood. Mr. Uncle Mike.
Now I can hear you. I have multiple Skype things up. I got my computer, and now I'm on my phone. And
all right, there we go.
All sorts of stuff.
You're having issues over there. You got to pay the internet bill in St. Charles, sir.
I guess so. This is crazy. So with that, I will go get in, even though I can't talk about Godzilla, what I will talk about would be 60-40 versus hedged equity. Now, the debate that Mark had said and that it's totally dead. 60-40.
Stick a fork in it. It's done.
Well, I would like to explain, and there is a spot for it that I can use it for my retirees in addition to hedged equities. So with that being said, let's say, for example, that if you are just in the accumulation phase, meaning that you are looking to have some money that you're looking to have a little bit less risk than the stock market, and you don't really like bonds, you don't like the idea of just buy and hold or whatever, hedged equity would probably be a better fit for you if you were to compare an either or to that or 60-40. However, with the absence of bonds, with someone that's in the distribution phase of their retirement, it can be difficult. Now, allow me to explain. Let's say that you are hedging your portfolio to roughly, and I'm just going to oversimplify it, you're just going to buy a portfolio 2% out of the money, let's say. And you're just putting it all in hedged equity because you feel 60-40 is dead. Well, as the market goes down, let's say 1.9%, you're going to have to sell some shares at a loss. And by doing that, you're never going to get that money back again because of the fact that you're selling on a downturn. Now, of course, if the market were to go down 20% or something like that, well, you sell some puts and you're in a good spot. But if you have a slowly declining market, or even a sideways market for that matter, then a hedged portfolio would be something to where it probably wouldn't serve you well if you're using it as a distribution tool. Now, with that being said, if you have bond exposure in your portfolio, you do have income, and that's an area with which you can use it. Now, of course, the other part of it is that, what about a covered call? Can you use covered calls for an income source in retirement? So that way you don't have to be stuck selling stocks at a lower point. I would contend and say yes. My point is this: all of these wonderful things can work together depending on how they are used. And if you would like more information on that, check out my webinar tomorrow night. It's going to be 60-40 versus hedged equity, and we'll be talking about it. And I'll have more about that in Around the Block, when we talk at the end of the show. But for now, what I would like to say is that I believe 60-40 does have a place as a tool, not the end-all be-all, but a tool in a retiree's portfolio.
All right, listeners, now it's time for us to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, really quickly, just to pay off that poll we were talking about before we so rudely interrupted by the uncle list of mics. I think Rock Lobster's Choice Robinhood is taking it 50%, 44.4% for Palantir right now, 5.6% saying they'd rather trade vol, and 0% saying you're out on both. I thought we'd get a few snarksters at least floating in on that. Just went live about right before showtime, so it's only been live for about an hour. Get over there at Options. Make your voices heard as we go around the horn. Mr. Rock Lobster, we'll start with you. An intriguing week out there. We got some numbers coming up later this week. What are you keeping an eye on until we gather here together on Thursday, sir?
Yeah, I would say, 9-day volatility, 9-day VIX. It's at a 3-week high. I think part of that little melt up on Friday might have been part of the culprit, but short-term volatility that high. They're kind of preloading this Feb announcement on the 12th, I think, a bit. So keep an eye on that. It's a little spooky, A
little bit of spookage sneaking in to the market. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on?
In addition to what the Rock Lobster had said, watching to see if we can hold the 5,200 mark. If we do sell off, we have rallied during the show today. So that just goes to show that the positive energy of the option block can even move markets.
There we go. Yeah, you're right. We have rallied since the start of the show. The S&P off about 1/3% now. NASDAQ ticking green, listeners, 0.06%. It was green earlier this morning, so just getting back some of its greenness. and the Dow still off about 0.8%. VIX hanging out right around 1360, so off a little bit. It was about 1395 and kicked off the show. So warm turning, maybe a little bit vol coming in, a little bit intriguing stuff. If you want more intriguing stuff, stay tuned. If you're hanging out in the Pro, we'll be back in about exactly an hour to talk all things crypto. Man, we're going to go deep. Whenever we unleash Greg on these markets, he goes deep on this stuff. So be prepared to talk some skew, some basis trades, some carry, some vol, all sorts of fun going on out there in the world of crypto. Coming up on the Crypto Rundown. If you're not on the Pro, you'll get it after the fact on your podcast device of choice, which, of course, there are many. Pick your poison out there. And Mr. Uncle Mike, if they want to get some poison in the land of St. Charles, where should they go? What should they do?
A couple things. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw, or follow me on LinkedIn. Just search my name, and you will get a post for my webinar that's coming up tomorrow night on 60/40 versus hedged equity. And if you're interested in having an appointment with me as a financial advisor, check out my website, stcharleswealth.com, and set up a phone call with me. Always love talking with our listeners.
There you go. Check him out, stcharleswealth.com. Check out his webinar if you are intrigued. Maybe you just want to heckle him, say it's dead. Go ahead, do that. Give him a follow there as well at Mike Tosaw, Tosaw on Twitter. All those places where you could find links to his upcoming webinar. And Mr. Rocklops, you got any upcoming webinar or goodies you want to share with the folks?
Well, we are opening Option Pit University, which, of course, my goal is to make it the best online options education course on the planet. We will probably have every subject under the sun there at some point. Right now, there's probably 50 or 60 videos on all of the esoterica, volatility, trading puts. If it has something to do with options, it will be in Option Pit University. So if you want to learn how to trade options, but you don't want the live courses, because we did this because of student demand for people that don't want live courses, check it out. Option Pit University, optionpit.com.
And that's not a separate URL. That's all still optionpit.com.
Yeah, it's all still on optionpit.com. Yep.
Right, there you go. Optionpit.com, the place to go to learn more. Maybe you get your master's degree over there.Maybe a PhD over there at Option Pit U. I heard they got some sweet merch. Pick it up over there at optionpit.com. We got to get on out of here. Making sure while you're picking up things, while you're checking out things, head on over to the land of public. Clearly, they're liking what they're hearing from you folks already, because they've already re-upped. Their campaign kind of just started. They've already re-upped for an extension out there. So they're liking what they're hearing from you folks out there. Kick the tires and light the fires. We don't get a lot of new players in the options game, so when they come around, we like to at least check them out. So go check out the platform. Rebate, certainly intriguing. Tell them what you like. Maybe tell them some things you wish they could add as well. They're always looking for feedback out there. And more importantly, tell them you heard about them on the network. That goes a long way to keeping this flow of shows that's been coming to you now for, 17 plus years, to keeping it flowing into year 18 and beyond. Speaking of that flow, we'll be back in a little bit with the Crypto Rundown. Back again throughout the rest of the week with our usual array of content, including some fun options boot camp shenanigans and all kinds of other nonsense. And then we're back again on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Most options trading platforms are commission-free, and there are some that don't charge per-contract fees. Public.com goes a step further. When you trade options on Public, there are no commissions, no per-contract fees, and you get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. That means it costs less than $0 per transaction. In other words, instead of paying to place options trades, you literally earn money, and that money can add up fast. If you trade 1,000 option contracts on Public, you'll earn up to $180 in rebates. 10,000 contracts? Up to almost $1,200. It's pretty obvious why NerdWallet recently gave options trading on Public 5 out of 5 stars. Because Public really stands out for the cost of its options trades. Their words, not ours. If you want to start paying less than $0 to trade options, check out Public.com and get a rebate of up to 18 cents per contract traded. Paid for by Public Investing. Options not suitable for all investors and carry significant risk. Full disclosures in podcast description. U.S. members only. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.